Okay, well today is a special day, a day I've been looking forward to for a very long time. Today is the day I received my brand new Wilderness Systems 2024 Recon 120 HD. I've had my eyes on this kayak for a very long time, and so I'm very excited to finally be able to unbox it. This kayak came packaged very well in plastic, bubble wrap, and cardboard, which I had to cut off, and then we get down to business with setting it up. No damage or anything on it. I was very impressed. I had a bad experience back in the day with an online order of a kayak that came completely destroyed, so I was glad to see that wasn't the case with this company. I got that out of the way, then I moved on to unpackaging all the components, the pedal drive, the seat, and of course the rudder. Alrighty, well, we have the brand new kayak set up. This is the Recon 120 HD from Wilderness Systems. I'm really excited to get on the water. We got the pedal drive installed now. This deploy system is very unique and cool. It is locked into position right there. You just push down and it pushes straight down. Pedals down there, has instant reverse just by going backwards. And then this is the really cool part. Ready? Line that up. So the right crank is straight up, left crank is straight down. And then if you just push this little button right here, or kick it, as it's really intended to do, whole thing shoots straight up, and you're completely flush now. Nothing to bump into on the bottom there. Very cool system, very unique. There are these anti-skid traction pads that are also supposed to be noise dampening, which I'm really excited about. Should make standing very comfortable, and this thing is just so wide. I think it's 3 or 4 inches wider than my previous kayak, which is unbelievable. Lots of storage underneath the seat here. I'm probably going to get some kind of tackle box with trays that slide out that'll be really easy to access from under the seat. The seat sits very high. My legs are probably going to be basically straight below me, which I'm excited about. It should be very comfortable for long days in the water. The seat is a big difference for the 2024 model. It swivels 360 degrees, which is very cool for just, being comfortable on the water, being able to access the tackle that I usually store back here, the cooler, all of that. This little bar under here, this is a really cool feature. You grab that, pull it up, you can slide the seat back and forth on this track, so you can make on-the-fly adjustments without having to mess around with screws or anything like that while you're on the water, in case you accidentally made a mistake or you just want to make adjustments to be comfortable for the long day in the water. On the sides here, along either of the gunnels, side rails, whatever you want to call them, there are rod slots for storing, I believe it's 3 7'6" rods on each side, which is perfect because that's really the biggest rod I ever carry. And it has these little bungees, so you can strap them down, keep them nice and secure. More of these noise muffling traction pads to make sure they're not bumping around. I'm very excited about this because this is going to completely change how I fish. With my old kayak, if I was going sheepshead fishing, I only brought the one sheepshead rod because I didn't really have anywhere secure to put my rods on my old kayak. If I laid them next to me, they'd be in the way of my steering, or I'd kick them with the pedal drive, or I would nearly bump them into the water, or all three. Or I'd hit the rod tips on the docks that I'm fishing if I'm fishing for sheepshead. But with this, I can store the extra rods out of the way on my right side, so it's not even on the side with the steering handle. It'll be completely out of the way, and then I can have nice long, lure rods and everything else I would be using, potentially in a day of fishing, just like I would on a boat, where I could store them out of the way, out of sight, and then I can do, part of the day sheepshead fishing. I catch the couple I want to keep for the day, then I can pivot and do something else, put the sheepshead rod away, pull out the other rods. So the rod storage is going to be really game changing for me. We have a recessed-in cup holder back here, which is cool. Mine's usually just rolling around the board of my kayak, so it'll be nice to have somewhere proper to put it. We have little tackle trays here. I'm gonna probably put pliers and things like that in there. Molded in handles, track mounting, that's always important. I think this is aluminum, which is nice. It's kind of an upgrade. A lot of them come with plastic, so that's pretty cool. Up here, I haven't even opened this yet because I've been working on installing everything. We have a dry storage hatch, which is cool. You can just flip it up, it'll stay put. And this has a removable tray, so you can fill it up with tackle. I'm probably gonna run my power cable from my fish finder battery up here, and so I can store the battery in here, and the connectors will just be hanging in here. I'm gonna do that shortly, but for now I just wanted to show you what this looks like before I do any modifications, just with the initial setup. The 360-degree swivel seat is a new addition to the Recon 120 HD in the 2024 model. This was something I was really excited about, and I'll go over that more later. The first step to put this seat together was to attach the backrest to the seat itself. There was a couple nuts and bolts and rubber washers that came, one for each side, to attach the backrest to the seat. Those of course came included, and I was happy to see that all parts were accounted for. Then you attach straps on either side of the base to the backrest. These straps are used to adjust the angle of the seat back, and I'm happy to report these are easy to change on the fly while you're on the kayak, so you can change your seat adjustment depending on what feels most comfortable at the time. Once I had that seat all put together, I went ahead and put it on the kayak to make sure everything was put together correctly. There's notches on either side to put the support beams in. The front support beam actually has a screw on either side that screws directly into the kayak itself. And here I'm just showing off that swivel seat, which I think is really going to pay huge dividends when it comes to comfort on the water. And here I am unpackaging the Helix pedal drive components. The Helix drive is where the HD and Recon 120 HD comes into play. I don't know if you can see that very well. It has little studs on them that help you get some grip. I've heard people complain about those. There are ways to just unscrew them and take them out. Oh, you can just go in from the back side with a little hex Allen wrench and unscrew all of these. I personally am going to like them. I wear shoes. I don't enjoy having sunburn or cut up feet from oysters. So this is actually going to be pretty sweet, just to get a little bit better grip when you're pedaling all day. Alright, so I'm supposed to take one of the crank arms, the right-sided one. There's an R up there. Step one with the pedal drive is I'm attaching the right crank arm with a crank arm bolt. It's imperative to make sure that right crank arm is parallel with the propeller to make sure that it'll line up and shoot up through the bottom correctly when you use the button to retract the pedal drive, but we'll get into that later. Then I flip over the drive and do the exact opposite with the left crank arm. I use a crank arm bolt to secure it again, and this time I have it facing straight down at the propeller. Now I'm going to take the left pedal, it has an L on it right there. And this is reverse threaded. Go the opposite direction you normally would with a screw. And then I use some pliers to finish tightening it down to make sure that pedal is nice and secure. Then flip it over and you're going to do the same on the right side. Now it's time for the right one. And it does not have reverse threading. Next up is probably the trickiest part of the install for the pedal drive, just because these nuts and bolts are really small. We're installing the latch hanger set. There's a little metal hanger you're going to attach to each side of the pedal drive. It's secured with two little screws and nuts that are just hard to keep in place. Working with small parts is never easy, but just don't drop them on the ground and make sure you keep an eye on them and you'll be fine. In order to really tighten down those little screws, I found it easiest to use a pair of needle nose pliers and a small screwdriver. And the final step of installing the pedal drive on the kayak is to install the latch bases themselves on either side of the plastic mount on the kayak. There are two holes with two nuts inside of them on either side of the plastic mount, so it's pretty hard to mess up, fortunately. These are much easier to install. In order to actually mount the pedal drive, you want to make sure you insert it at an angle and make sure the receiver hole of the upper housing and the mounting bracket are lined up. And then you're going to insert the quick release pin. If you have the receiver holes lined up correctly, that quick release pin should slide in very easily. I was struggling with this at first, but once I did it for the first time, I kind of got a hang for it pretty quickly. Once the quick release pin is in place, you can just tilt the pedal drive up towards the seat to stand it upright. Then use the latches you mounted it on either side to lock it into place. And finally, to engage the pedal drive, just push straight down on the top of the head unit and it'll lock into place when it's fully down. Then in order to retract the pedal drive again, what you do is you make sure the right arm is aimed straight up in the air, the left arm of the crank is straight down at the propeller, then you just kick that gray button that's facing the seat, and that pedal drive will shoot straight up. I have to say I was pretty impressed with the speed that this thing retracted at. I understand why there's a warning sticker on the pedal drive now that says don't put your face over it, and I have to say it's borderline violent when you're out of the water. When you're on the water, it's a lot more reasonable and less loud. And the final portion of the initial setup is getting the rudder all situated.
First, I used an Allen wrench to screw in 2 little screws that are holding the rudder block onto the back of the kayak. After that, you can insert the rudder pin into the rudder block and use a split ring to hold the rudder in place to make sure it won't fall out. And finally, you can go ahead and install the steering lines for the rudder. Fortunately, they ran those at the factory, so this is very easy. The rudder lines are attached from bottom to top of the rudder, meaning the rubber washer and the split ring are sitting on top of the rudder, while the cord lock is on the bottom. And that's the final step to make this thing fishable.
Okay, and from this angle and this lighting, it might be hard to see, but to the left of the seat, there's a little pull tab here. You pull on it, and it deploys the rudder. Then you obviously have your steering, left, right, all that. On the right side, there is another pull tab.
And make sure to stay to the end of the video if you want to see me run the lines for my fish finder.
Alright, now it's time to do everyone's least favorite thing with a new kayak, or maybe their least favorite thing, but definitely the most nerve-wracking thing. Time to drill some big holes and install that wiring for the fish finder. Man, that was a struggle for this whole drill. Run this through here. So we got the female side in here, male side out here.
The through-hole kit comes with a couple different rubber gasket inserts for each of these watertight seals, one for the power cables and one for the transducer cables. The transducer cables are the one I ran at the back, and the power cables is the one I will run at the front. Then once you have everything nicely situated outside with the male side, you'll reach your arm inside the hole and screw the female side of the adapter on. This was shockingly hard. I don't know if this was a me problem or if it's just a kind of difficult angle to work at.
And this is where the battery pack will run through. Then I'll be able to store it up by this dry hatch here.
And I'm not sure why, but I forgot to record myself installing the transducer on the bottom of the kayak. On the Recon 120 HD, there are 2 pre-drilled, ready-to-go transducer mounts, one on each side of the bottom rear of the kayak, located directly underneath each of the scupper holes. Now that I'm done with the through-hole kit, all that's left to do is to mount the ball mount on my track mounting on my left side rail. That's my preferred side for the fish finder. Then I mounted my fish finder head unit and plugged all the wires in to make sure everything was up and running and there was no issues.
Alright, well that's all she wrote on the initial setup of the kayak. I just have a few attachments like a rod holder and things that I'm going to put on the rail mounts, but besides that and the fish finder, I'm keeping it stock for the first trip or two just to see how it performs and see what I might want to customize down the road. But hope you all enjoyed this and hope you found it informative. If you're interested in checking out this kayak, I'll have a link down in the description so you can see what it's all about. Super cool. I'm very excited to put it to the test. Put it on the water and see if we can catch some fish. I'm planning on going out in the morning in about 8 hours or so, so hopefully it's gonna perform, hopefully the weather holds up, but thank you all so much for watching and remember to make some time for fishing. I hope to see you next time. Bye.